Hey there, it's Brian here from IWCP Wealth Architect, and today I want to share with you the three most critical variables that you have to get absolutely right in your investment if you want to see positive returns in your investments, just like my private clients are. Are you ready? These are the three variables that you need to get right. Number one, time. How much time do you have between now and the expected goal that you're hoping to achieve? You see, Warren Buffett, regarded as the most influential and successful investor of our time, said that the time spent in an investment is the most determining factor between success and failure when it comes to investing. And so you got to understand that you need time for your investments to grow. And how much time you have will determine the type of investment that you can enter into. You see, someone that is 40 years to the timeline to the investment or the maturity of the investment will have far more options than someone that says, look, I've got 5 years to go. So number one, you need to have time. You got to have time in the investment, and you got to have time in the market. Time allows you to make use of and really tap into the eighth wonder of the world, which is compound interest. Compound interest will exponentially change and increase your investment more than anything else. But compound interest is linked directly to time. How much time do you have before your expected goal or objective is realized? So that's number one. Number two is risk. How much risk are you open to and you're willing to take on? What is your risk appetite? And look, usually time and risk are closely related. The more time you have, the more risk you can take on. Now, I'm not saying being reckless, but look, if you only have 2 years for your investment, then something like equities probably won't be the best solution for you, because that's regarded as a higher risk type of investment. But on the other hand, it's a far more higher returning. If I've only got 2 years, then something like cash would probably be more applicable to me. But for what I give up in time and risk, I'm also going to give up in performance. You see, because anything that is short-term and more stable will also produce less returns, because you're not allowing your investment to have time in the market. You see, because if I look at a performance graph and I say, okay, look, here's where this is where my investment started and this is where it ends. And I look at and I possibly have a portfolio that's mostly equities, I'm going to see that where it started and where it ended has been an exponential increase. But if I only look at a short period of time, this investment actually decreased, and 10 to 1 in a year period, it probably did. That's why, because there's a lot of volatility in that type of investment. And so, am I willing to take on the short-term risk? Am I willing to take on short-term losses for much higher long-term returns? Because in the short term, it will drop, but as it's dropping, it's regaining, and it's always on this upward curve. And so if you expand that investment to 1 to 10 years, if it's maybe a higher return, a higher risk investment, you're going to see that it's produced a much higher return than what a low risk type of investment would, like cash. You'll see that low risk, stable investments will plateau over a long period of time. It'll just keep steady. It won't lose, but it also won't gain. So that's number two, risk. And number three, money. How much money do you want and how much money do you have? Because here's the thing. Everybody wants to retire with 100,000 Rand a month. And if it's within your capacity, you can do that. But that might be the goal. But how much money do you actually have in capacity-wise to produce that return or to produce that income over the long term? So when you take those three variables, and then we try to find the sweet spot. Where's that sweet spot where we can get the most return the most amount of time for the least amount of risk for the most gain for the least amount of money put in. I mean, that'll be nirvana. That'll be perfect, right? But that's the variables we want to try match and find that sweet spot. Once you find that sweet spot, you're going to find that you're going to consistently produce positive returns, because there's no point in giving you a stable investment where you need a lot of returns where you don't necessarily have the capacity to put into it. You're going to find yourself disappointed. You're not going to get the returns. But also, you don't want to find yourself, I've only got a short period of time. I can invest a lot and let's put it into high risk or in high yield, but it's going to drop off in the short term. So when I work with my private clients, I need to balance those variables and to understand how do those variables interact with one another so we can produce the most positive return for you and we can get to the end goal in mind. And look, if you're not really sure how to work on those variables, or you don't even know what those variables are, I want to encourage you and welcome you to book a complimentary financial planning, investment planning consult with me. It's free of charge, completely obligation free, commitment free. It's really a discussion between you and me to really understand what is it that you're looking to achieve, and can I help you at all? And if I can, we can obviously continue the conversation. If I can't, then I'll try to point you in the right direction. You can book that complimentary investment planning consult in the link below. There's a link to my calendar. Book it, book a session with me, and let's have a discussion and see how we can get you to where you want to get to. Well, I'll see you soon.